Okay, I've given you guys enough time to watch season one and season two of the Umbrella Academy. Now, the Umbrella Academy was just like a series that reminded me of the Doom Patrol. The Doom Patrol started off kicking butt, going 100 miles an hour, and to setting up characters who all had superhero power. The Umbrella Academy is a little bit different. The Umbrella Academy moves and the way they dictate and the way it's laid out is a lot different of the fabric of the TV show. It's on Netflix. It's based on the comic books. Um, it's about this eccentric human being who lets off these magical beings. Well, you're going to find out more about him. I'm not going to go advance the storyline. He lets off these magical whatever into the air. And on a certain date, the kids are born. Good morning, guys. And as the children are born, some are blessed with special powers. And he went around to find all the kids that were born on that day. And all the kids that were born on that day seemed to inhabit these traits. What's up? So now that they've inhabit these traits, some might say, well, what's the next thing that should happen here? Because they're developing these traits and they're in a vast majority of, like what are these kids are and how special are they? All of them exhibited different attributes from and they gave them all numbers number one, two, three, four. And they all had different things that they could do as far as powers. And this one girl, she was just powerless, but they kept her along anyway. And this guy was not a father of empathy. So for them to have her around meant a lot as far as the story. You had a talking monkey named Pogo, who was very, very much advanced. And it was really a lot to take in early on. You could see that there was some distension, and it starts off with the father dying and all of this together supposedly been bringing the family back together who's been out doing their own thing for like years. Now you're starting to learn who the father was. You find out mother's a robot, or if you didn't know that already, but she was like weirdly around. So as the season go on, you're starting to see that there's a blossoming relationship with one of the sisters on the show because they're all like adopted, orphaned. Um, he paid and bought these kids from the parents. So one of them, or number one, and I forgot her number, they have a thing for each other. Like they love each other, even though they're brother and sister. Yeah, it is nuts. But that's by law. They're not biological at all. So for them, it's a bit of an adjustment. Now you're looking at a situation where you have interaction and turmoil and you have some chaos because as the characters are being introduced to you, they're they already have a history with the rest of the cast that you're just learning about. So you're learning on the fly that there's all this backstory between the two. So you're going through all of the pain through the seasons. and there's this little kid named Number Five who could jump through time and space. So he comes back, and because he made a mistake, he's now a 58-year-old man in a young boy's body. Well, Allison, yeah, she is. She's a little thick too. I like it. But all she has to say is, I heard a rumor. And whatever she says next after that, you'll end up following her command. And going through this season, you trying to figure out why this who this guy was that was following him. And sure enough, the girl Vanya, who had no powers, didn't understand why she didn't have any powers. She never understood why she didn't have powers. She didn't understand a lot of the things that were going on at the time. Now, for everyone else involved, it was a different situation, very difficult. You're looking at other people who were far more advanced, like far more on a level of of just perfection and moving forward with their lives. They were keen. But this one guy who was like so in love with Vanya, and she was just so dis- detached from everyone, trying to be a people pleaser, and she didn't know why. Because you'll find out why at the end of the movie. You find out about Vanya being the most powerful, basically, of all of them. They, her power is so great that you know they gotta try to contain it because she could destroy everything. So she was like, "Well, I'm not gonna be a threat." This is what the father was like. Her power is too great to be controlled. He had kept her locked away for many years and away from everybody. She learns that her memory was erased, and she was learning that she did have powers, and she was getting them back, as it was all kept in the notes, as he made the others tell her that, you know, made her take away her powers or make her forget she had them. Well, it's like this. At the end, there's a showdown where they have to come together and fight. Diego, that character is great because he's a frightened boy. He's a guy that he's always angry because of his childhood. Always trying to please and always feeling like he didn't have anybody to cling on to, needing that motherly touch. The robot mother was always there for Diego because Diego needed her more than the others did. And he carries that in his everyday walk of life, and then to have one of their members die on a mission that we still don't know how he died on the mission. But he has this thing where his intestines come out like a worm and just starts eating people up. Yeah, Ben. I think he's number 6. But yeah, I think in the end what I liked about it the most in season 1, they didn't cheesy out the ending. They didn't make it cheesy. They went a route that I felt was more determined, more focused, and more on the level. They didn't cheat you. And this is how the comic was. The comic was very genuine. Like, things happen, and you want to make sure that you don't disrespect the actual process, or the actual, what they say, disrespect the love. You don't want to disrespect the people that are watching. Those who are watching felt can feel cheated or set up for a situation. Here, it was kind of a letdown. You was like, okay, well, how they gonna save the day? Well, they didn't save the day. It went wrong. Everything that the prophecy and everything, it actually happened. Vanya end up exploding the moon. The moon breaks in half. Peace falls to Earth and blows up the entire planet. And they were the only survivors because they actually went back in time. Well, and he had never carried, number five had never carried anybody back in time. So he had to go back to try to stop it. Well, that's where season one ends. Season two, now, when this starts, it shows what happens to them when they come out of the portal and they go back in time. Now, it appeared they were all turning into kids when they were going back, just like he was young. They were all their younger selves getting absorbed. So it looked like in season two, they were going to start with a younger cast. But no, it was the same people. When she lands, you'll find out that there's a lot of characters very similar to other characters in movies, because Marvel did a great job of ripping off every idea that did not come from them. So, but anyway, as Vanya is, everybody is being dropped in time. They get separated. They're not all together. And number five is watching a war go down, and all of the whole team is there. They all fighting together in this war, and next thing you know, they all stand up as a nuclear bomb goes off, and all of them are wiped out by a nuclear bomb. Like, the whole world is destroyed again. So the apocalypse happened, and now they got to stop another apocalypse. But this time they're in the 1960s, where there's civil rights fights going on, and it brings a whole new element in it, because now with all the stuff that's going on in today's time, it kind of taps into the storyline. But they all was dropped off individually a year apart in the same alley, same location. It was like 1961, he's dropped, boom. Then when he lands at 62, then this person landed 63. And they never really went out to look for the others. They all found their own way. So Diego ended up going to a crazy house. You end up seeing Allison, she got married to a civil rights leader. You got Vanya living on a farm with no recollection of her past. She's completely forgotten her past. She can't remember anything that transpired or what she's done. And she's living with a family on the farm who hit her with a car. Yeah, and then when they walked into a Jim Crow style restaurant, and they put that civil rights on the sit-ins, and I liked how they wrote all these pieces in there that was very vital. The Kennedy assassination was coming up. They want to stop the Kennedy assassination, and they think the father's responsible as they running into, moving around in time. They actually have number five who was going back and doing hits for this time agency, which I didn't talk about in season one because I kind of want you to stumble into that as you watch it. But there's an agency that's like, they guardians of time, like the Matrix. The people they send these guys like Mr. Anderson, and they send these guys into the system to make sure things, everybody stays on time. Yeah, so I definitely love the first season. I gave it 3 stars. I give the one 3.5 out of 4. I just think it was very well done, and because it was very well done, it's definitely getting a high rating from me. And Diego was mad funny in season 2. Well, he took a blunt. I mean, his role was more larger in the second season because he was very vital to the story. The quest and the drive for him to get out of the nut house. He runs into a crazy girl who seems to just be a fiend for the action. She can handle herself, and he's carrying her with him. And he's the one that's really discovering this guy that's watching everything. And they end up running to him after running to number five because number five's got to get everybody together again. And remember, he's an older guy, so he's much older than they are. He's been through time and got stuck. So he spent like 58 years, out there aging, doing missions. Oh yeah, it's like a hit crew in the first season with Mary J. Blige is in there, and Mary J. I believe once they go back in time, everybody's gonna be back to normal. But as you can see, when we get through season two, everybody's kind of conflicted with their new lives as opposed to the lives that they had before. And you see them wanting to leave behind the life. It's harder for them to go back to the future because they created a life. Allison is married now to a civil rights guy. They're talking about kids, family. She don't want to leave, what she's got. And then the crazy brother, he's become a cult leader now because all the stuff he knows from the future, the one that could see everything with the drinking drug problem and falling in love with the gay soldier. He runs into the gay soldier before the gay soldier even knows he's gay at this point. He's a young person, a teenager getting ready to go into the army, the military. He's trying to convince him not to go. He got rocked. Yeah, he did. And I was waiting for somebody to punch him because I can't stand Klaus. Out of everybody on the show, Klaus is the one I can't stand. I just can't deal with him. I'm waiting for somebody to punch him in the face. Well, yeah, and he knew everything about him, and he ended up going to war anyway. He couldn't stop him from joining the military. Um, Bad for him. So all of them is supposed to go back to the future and do all these things. They find out that they've run into another girl who ended up is the same birthday as the rest of them. She's one of them, and she has a power that's similar to theirs, except for she can mimic everyone's power. Anybody use a power, she can basically mimic it and throw it back at them. Yeah, it was a lot of different things that transpired, but now it is well beyond watching. Once you watch it, you're not going to want to stop. Well, these are on the Netflix station or streaming network or streaming platform. Well, in season 3, this is based off the comic book. When they go back home to the future isn't the same anymore. Remember, things is going to be a little different. And Diego kept telling the mom not to trust, you know, the father, and she ends up leaving him after she thinks he's behind the assassination of Kennedy. And so mother's not there when they arrive, which I don't see Pogo. So, Pogo normally stayed with her and was more aligned with her. So Pogo wasn't there anymore. Then when they come back, they learn that there is no Umbrella Academy. He's created something new, the Sparrow Academy. And in the comics, there was a showdown with like they met this alternate group called the Sparrow Academy in the comic books. That was like a mimic of them, and Ben was like in charge of it or the guy. Oh yeah, the comics are great. They were not well drawn, I don't think some of them were, but there are some far fetched theories, but they used a lot of the material, which is good. Oh yes, my Mike Tyson animated one on Casino for Life. Yeah, they didn't send a lot of people the notifications. I don't know why. Once again, spam, but definitely the Doom Patrol is a much funnier show. I think as far as comedy, they're a much funnier show with Brendan Fraser and stuff. It's much more tragic than this one, but the Doom Patrol is more interesting. I mean, as far as the setup. But I think this is probably better written than Doom Patrol. Earl Spence wins a split decision. Oh, definitely, man. I would watch it if I was any of you. Definitely would watch it. Yeah, I'm gonna probably take a nap, get some sleep. It's my bedtime. All right, boxing station. Smash ball. Everybody else. One.